Welcome back to the Pittsburgh Basketball Show. I'm your host, George Michalowski with PSN. Here with a very special guest, the man, the biggest probably guest that we could get on this show. So thrilled to have him here, Jeff Capel. Thanks for joining me, man.
Appreciate you, man.
Jeff, so you've had a busy summer. You just talked about it. We had a press conference. Check that out on PSN if you haven't already. We just talked about your recruiting trips, Peach Jam. You went to Vegas. You had the TBT here. Have you had any off time yet? And what do you usually do, like when you do have off time?
Yeah, well, we took, we got away, when I say we, my family and I, in June, right when school ended for my kids. And we went to the beach in North Carolina for a week. Since I was the head coach at Oklahoma, we have gone to the beach, same beach in North Carolina. We rent a house, and my mom still is in North Carolina. My wife's whole family is all in North Carolina, her parents, brothers, and their families. And so normally everyone just gets together and we just hang out. We did that. We'll get away a little bit here in the next few days. On Sunday, we'll be gone for a little bit just to kind of get away and just to kind of catch our breath and get ready for the start of school.
It's awesome, man. So, congrats on the extension.
Thank you.
You'll be the head coach here until at least 2029, 2030. At least, I'm saying it's
well,
the hope, man.
You never know, man.
Yeah.
Shoot, I hope so. I want to be here. I love it here. We love it here. But these contracts, man, you never know. That's the thing. I hope I am. Hopefully we win enough. That's what I'm saying. Right. Hopefully we win enough where I'm able to be here for that long.
So Heather's trust in you has been clear from the start. Even in that 2021-22 season, you go 11-21 to finish that year. In year 4, she's sticking right by you. I think I remember her walking next to you and you know, giving you a hug right after that game against Boston College. Like, she's been there. We've seen it through this whole thing. What were those conversations like with her after this season and after the 2022-23 season? Like, when you see this thing start to move in the right direction? Yeah,
well, first and foremost, I'm grateful for that belief. You know, for the belief that she had in me when she hired me, and then sticking with me and us through those difficult times. You know, they were very honest conversations. I think she and I have that type of relationship where we can be honest with each other. And certainly after year 4, this was not going the way that any of us wanted it to go. And we had to change. And we made a conscious effort as a staff. You know, like, I knew year 5 was really important. Mm-hmm. I knew it. I've been through it before. I've been fired before. Yeah. So, you know, I understood what was going on and where we were as a program. And so we made a few changes. Number one, we wanted to change how we played, and that required us to get more shooting. That was a big thing, to really try to recruit shooting. And so we changed, you know, our style a little bit. We went to more 5 out. And then I think we've always tried to be mindful of the type of guys that we recruited, but I think we made an even more concerted effort to gather as much information as we possibly could. George, I thought one of the things that really helped, I really do, was after that season, we were able to go out and recruit. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't think anyone understood how difficult that was for us for those, I think it was 18 months, where we couldn't go out when the world was shut down. And so everything was on Zoom. It was really difficult for us to recruit on Zoom because our program had not won in the ACC since I had been here, since before I got here, except for 2014, 2015, 16 with Jamie. And so it was a hard sell. And so I think those are the things that Heather and I talked about. And I think she still believed in the vision but the results had to happen.
Yeah.
And, I was so, I will always have an unbelievable connection with that team, that 2022-23 team, because, Jamarius, Nike, Will, like those guys could have left, and it would have been easy to jump ship. You're coming off that season. There's a lot of speculation about me, a lot of things about me. I'm not going to be here. We're not going to make it, and things like that. And so it would have been easy to do that. And so for those three, and then to go get, Nelly and Greg and Blake, Federico, to get those guys, and then to get the twins, and then to put it all together. And we started out, we lost those 3 games in a row, and it looked like it was fun. Then we were back here, and I think we were trailing. I think it was Alabama State or A&M. One of them were trailing at half, and I'm in a room by myself, like, and am I this wrong? Like, I thought we were good. But I think we were able to overcome that because of the character that we had. And so to watch that thing, to go from that, and then to get Jalen and Bub, like those guys committed before that season. So before we won. So for them to believe. And so it's been really cool to watch the things that have happened from, that 2022 season, from the end of that into where we are right now. It's like night and day, and I'm really, really proud of that.
I mean, it's clear to see the culture shift, right? Like, we saw Nike, Nelly, Greg come back a week ago and just rave about you and about the family that's been created here. I want to ask you about your staff.
Yeah.
A lot of programs you see, they have a first 4 years together, and, maybe it's a scapegoat thing, but the AD makes the head coach get rid of the staff, switch things up. You stuck with these guys throughout. They're still here today, and you all seem happy. You've created that family atmosphere. How did you know this was the right group of guys?
Great question. Well, when I took the job here, you have to understand it was like at the height of like the FBI stuff with college basketball. If you think about that, like think about where we were in 2018, just the state of college basketball, when you had guys getting arrested and things like that for hoop, like it's crazy.
Yeah.
But also my experience at Oklahoma, like at the end, I got fired because there was an accusation of an NCAA violation. We're well past the statute of limitations now. I didn't know anything about it. And look, it was on me. I was the head coach, so it all falls on me. But the first time I ever hired someone that I didn't know was at Oklahoma. And that was the assistant that committed the violation. It wouldn't be a violation now, but that was the assistant that did it. And so when I took this job, I had all those things in my head. Also, I knew this was a major rebuild. And I knew it was going to be even greater than I expected. So the thing for me that I wanted people that I could trust. Like, that was probably the main thing. I wanted people that were good men, that could be positive role models for the guys that we get a chance to coach. And obviously guys that know basketball. And so the 3 that I hired right away, my brother, Milan, and Tim, I've known them. I've known my brother he's 44. So for 44 years, I've known him. Milan got his start in college coaching. He was my dad's assistant. T.O. came to Duke when I was a junior. He came as an assistant. So I've known these guys. I trust them. And I believe in them. You said something pretty interesting. Sometimes they're used as a scapegoat. Heather never did that. Now, look, I heard the noise. I heard that people were saying we should do this, and these guys aren't good, and my brother's this, and stories were manufactured and made up about his relationship, or people didn't like him or whatever. for me, I don't believe I live it. I'm with it. I'm around it every day. I see it. So what other people's opinions are, they don't really matter to me. And I believe that they were the right people to help us. And I saw we were making small little progress, even in the midst of 11-21 or whatever we were that year. I could see it I could see it in Mogi. I could see, how he got better because he believed and he trusted and he worked and he did all the things and there was never an excuse. And so we just knew it was about getting the right people, and we've been able to do that. And then one of the biggest things, man, I went to Heather and I fought. I was told no like 4 times, but to hire the position that Kyle was in.
Yeah.
Because I knew with this transfer portal and the NIL space, like I needed someone that could help us navigate that and manage that, because that was going to be huge. And so he was a huge hire too. Now, he was someone that I knew a little bit. I didn't know him as well as those other ones, but I knew him a little bit. When we hired Gil, I had gotten to know Gil, he had come back. And so for me, it was just hiring the right people that I knew, that I trusted, and I knew that would have our back and do things the right way.
Well, speaking of coaches and your idols and people you've worked with, played for, Coach K, you've talked about him since your opening press conference here and the influence he's had on you. I want to look in your mind at this one moment that I saw on YouTube video. He had your dad on the bench after he was diagnosed with ALS. You brought him in as an honorary coach. What did that moment mean to you in terms of just Coach K's care for you and your family, in terms of sharing the bench with your father?
Yeah, I mean, that was obviously a very difficult time in our family's life. And, it's interesting because the first person I told when my dad was diagnosed in March of 2016 was Coach K. And so it was really difficult. But coaching my dad, Coach K has always had, since I've known him, like the biggest respect for coaches. High school coaches, college pro coaches, I think, because he's a coach's coach. Like he just respects the profession so much. And so he always had great respect and admiration for my father. And he came to me with the idea, just trying to figure out a way to maybe lift my dad's spirits. And to be honest with you, I didn't know if my dad would want to do it. My dad was a very prideful man. And by that time, the disease was starting to show. And I didn't think he would want anyone to, hell, we didn't tell anyone. I wrote an article for what's the Players Tribune, yeah. And that's how we told everybody, even family. No one knew. And so I didn't know if my dad would want to do it. And when I called him, he was like, yeah. And so it was really cool for him to be in that element, his element again. Yeah. One more time, one last time. And, to do it, my dad was an assistant at Wake Forest. That was his first college job. We played Wake Forest that game. And so it was a really cool thing.
Brought up your opening press conference here at Pitt back in when you got hired. And one thing you said that really caught my eye, you talked about when you got hired at VCU at the age of 27, and how people weren't too thrilled about that on VCU's end. Maybe the fan base, people online, just the noise kind of was a chip on your shoulder that you weren't ready at 27. What motivates you today? Like, what's that chip on your shoulder today going into year 7?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've grown so much since then. And I think I'm such a better coach, because I just think I'm better as a person. Like, I've been knocked down, I've gone through things, I've learned a lot about myself. The motivation now, it's always been, but it's it's at an even greater level now. It's just to help these guys become the best that they can be. The relationships have always been huge to me, always. It's why I do it. When I don't feel a connection with a guy, then I don't feel right. And I tell my players this, like if things are off, I think I've never been diagnosed with anything, but I'm pretty sure I have the compulsive, whatever it's called. My wife will do stuff. She'll go around the house. Like everything has to be neat. Everything has to be right. She'll take the paper towels and turn them on the side.
I'm sorry for moving your kids around.
No, you're good. It's neat though, right?
Yeah.
But it's and so things have to be right. And so that's we have a saying, and I told the 2022-23 team, I said this to them. I was on the road that summer. I was not on the road. I was walking. I was exercising. That's what I do to exercise now. I just walk.
No more hooping?
I wish, man. I would give anything to be able to hoop again. But I was listening to a Lauryn Hill song. It came on, and I'd listened to this song since '96, since the album came out. But it was a part in the song, how you gonna win if you ain't right within? And it just caught me, and I talked to our team about that. And we have to be right. So that's what motivates me. And I don't know if I have a chip on my shoulder anymore. I want to do this. I love the game. I love being a part of a team. For my whole life, I've been a part of a team. I've tried to be a great teammate. And so just my motivation now is to help these guys become the best version of themselves that they can be, and use all of my experiences as a player, as a coach, as a man, as a son of a coach, someone that's been around this game and has been touched by some of the best, all of my experiences to help them become the best versions of themselves.
So when we were at TBT this past week, watching the players on the baseline, the current team watching the former team, I saw some little Capel boys down there, your son and then Jason's sons as well. Yeah. What does that mean to you to look down and see them with guys like Blake, Justin, and the current team?
To be honest with you, man, it reminds me of my brother and I when we were little. And my dad always allowed us to be a part of his team from when he was a high school coach at Pinecrest High School, Southern Pines. Man, those guys were my heroes. And when I look at my son and I look at my nephews, that's how they look at these players.
You talk about playing with freedom a lot. I've heard it from recruits telling me they hear that pitch from you. You play with a lot of freedom here as a guard. What does that mean to you? How have you seen that in the past guards that have played here?
Yeah, well, I think the very first thing is that freedom is earned. You have to come in and earn it. And you earn it by how you work every day and by being a good player. What it means is the freedom to be instinctive. I don't want guys being fearful of making a mistake. I don't want guys playing looking over their shoulder. I know what that feels like, and you can't be at your best if you're afraid to make a mistake. And so really what it is just I want them to have the freedom if you feel something. So for instance, Bub earned that pretty early last year. Mm-hmm. Jalen got it, and once he got it, then that's when we became really good. And with those two guys in particular, there would be different points during the game. If you saw me call them over during a break of action, I may have been asking them, like, what do you feel out there? What do you see? What do you want to run? There would be times where I would get up and I would call something, and Bub may say, no, let's run this. Or when it got really good with both Bub and Jalen, they would know what I was going to call. They would know what play or an action that would work. I think the first time I ever did it, I was the head coach at VCU, and I had a great point guard. He was a freshman named Eric Maynard. Yeah. And it happened with him like late January. And with him, I remember we were playing our biggest rival, Old Dominion. It was an ESPN game, and they had made a run and cut the lead. It was like the under 4 timeout. And we got in there, and I just said, look, this is what we're doing defensively. Here's our ball screen coverage. Offensively, just give the ball to him.
Yeah.
And then you guys, like, he'll figure it out. Like, well, we're just going to put him in ball screens the rest of the game. And so that's what it is. I want guys to be instinctive. And it's not just, the guards, you hear more because they have the ball. If you have a really good, Blake Griffin had that freedom when I coached him in Oklahoma. Not many people saw him like I saw him when I recruited him. People, when we recruited Blake, they just saw like this athlete, this freak athlete. I saw so much more. I saw the ball handling, the passing, the feel for the game, those instincts. And we unleashed all of that in his 2 years for us. And it helped us, it helped him. And that's what we try to do. So that's what the freedom means, being able to be instinctive and to go out there and not be afraid.
Do you keep in touch with Blake still? So I just retired recently.
I talk to Blake probably still once a week.
Okay. It's a funny dude.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
And he's been hilarious, since I met him. When I took the job at Oklahoma, he was a junior in high school. And I didn't know him. I obviously hadn't heard of him. I was in Virginia. He was in Oklahoma. And I remember, man, the first conversation I had with him, I hadn't seen him play. And I remember I have this conversation, because back then I used to write the conversations down so I could remember. So I have this in my files at home. I remember talking to him about, like, what are your goals? Like, what do you want to do with the game? And I remember him telling me, like, I want to hopefully be able to choose where I go to college. I want to, hopefully have a chance to start. I want to be a pro one day. I want to do this. And then 2 weeks later, I saw him play for the first time in the AAU tournament in Dallas. And I'll never forget, on Sunday, I texted him, because back then I couldn't call.
Yeah.
Because we were on probation from the previous coach for phone calls. And so I texted him, I was like, I need you to call me when you get home. And I told him, like, you need to change all of your goals. You don't see yourself like I see you. Like, you can change the power forward position. And so him having the freedom to get a defensive rebound and push the break is 6'10", 245 pounds. Because I trusted his passing. I trusted his instincts and things like that. So that's what the freedom is. Like, if you get a really good player, man, and it helps if you get really good players, plural, then when you can unleash that and they become instinctive, then it becomes really cool to watch.
I guess to connect that to the current team, Cam's a guy who I've heard you speak before about him, was a little bit limited in his role at Florida State. They had him kind of guarding all positions, switching around, so didn't get as many rebounds as you guys think he could possibly get. Do you think he can stretch his game out more? Do you think he can handle the ball, shoot it a little bit too?
I'll tell you, one of the things that I've been really impressed with Cam this summer is his passing. And that's something I did not think. I remember having a conversation with him and talking to him about our offense before he committed here. And I remember saying to him, like, yo, can you pass? Like, are you, because our fives, our bigs, they have the ball a lot. And those guys, if we need them to be good decision makers and to be able to read and to be instinctive. Federico became really good at it, like flipping ball screens, passing, and things like that. Obviously, G is really good at it. And he says, like, yeah, coach, I can pass it. I can do that. He's been really good with it this summer. I mean, catching the ball in short rolls and getting off of it, initiating the offense from that spot. So I've been really pleasantly surprised by that. And again, it's just allowing him to not be robotic, but just to be instinctive and to be a basketball player.
How do you think, like, when you look back at how you played the game versus how you handle your guards nowadays, are there similarities? Like, do they play like you played?
These guys, one of the reasons I chose Duke is because of that. I remember talking to Coach K throughout the whole process, and that was the thing. He talked about some of the same things that I talk about with the freedom. You're not going to run this side of the break every time, or you're not. Like, you have multiple ball handlers, and that's the way we played. I mean, he was ahead of his time, if you think about it, with the guys that he had. Like, even before me, Christian Laettner shooting threes as a big. So a stretch five, Danny Ferry, playing all over the place at 6'10", and so yeah, I give them the same type of free. I like playing that way. I think that's the way you should play. I think it's fun, and I think you win, especially when you have really good players. And we've been fortunate here the past few years to have some really good players.
So it seems like you guys are all excited going into this season. Congrats on another offseason. To wrap up here, I want to ask you one more question about the state of Pittsburgh basketball.
Yeah.
Pitt, Duquesne, RMU, high school. We covered it all on the show. How do you compare Pittsburgh's basketball scene to other cities, and what can we do to improve it?
Yeah. Well, I think we have really good basketball here. Obviously, you look at the past 2 years for us. It was really awesome watching Duquesne last year when they found themselves after starting out the conference struggling a little bit, and to make the run that they did in the tournament. I'm really excited to watch Drew and see what he does. I think he'll do a great job. Robert Morris has switched conferences, and they've struggled a little bit the past couple of years, but Andy will get it back going. And obviously we know he's a really good coach, unbelievably passionate, does so much in the community here. I think the high school, you have really good players. You have two of the top seniors, from Pittsburgh in the country. I think it's really good coaching here, and so the thing I would say is just for people to appreciate it more, to come to our games, to go watch Duquesne. If you're a Duquesne fan, go be passionate about them. The same thing with Robert Morris. And then with the high school kids, I'll say this. When I was in high school, I was a pretty good guy. I was a pretty good player. My senior year, I was a top 25, top 30 player in the country. You couldn't get in my games. Now, I don't know if that's just a North Carolina thing, but, you had to get there by halftime of the girls' game. And so if you have a guy like that, or guys like that, get out and support them and appreciate them and things like that. That would be my only thing. But the basketball scene here is really good. It's competitive. It's really good coaching. They're passionate about it. We see it at our team camp, and with the high school coaches that come and watch us practice. So I'm grateful for it, and look forward to watching it continue to grow.
Awesome, man. Well, good luck rest of the summer. Enjoy your break.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.